Well, I read most types of books. There's not many genres that I don't at least visit occasionally. A couple of my main ones would be science fiction, science fact, and fantasy. I don't tend to stay in other genres for very long, or I'll go on a binge where I'm reading a whole heap of children's books. It's literature, something, and then I'll tend to default back to the ones that I'm most fond of. This next book, The Pilot's Wife by Anita Shrive, is a perfect example of why I can only read what I think of as mainstream fiction for a short while before going off it. I gave this 2 stars out of 5. I know a lot of people really love this author and really enjoyed this book, which is why I ended up picking up because of recommendations from people I know. But yeah, I guess it's not a bad book in general. A lot of people love it, so there must be something in it. The take-home message from it, though, for me was very, very meh. It just was kind of nothing. It was a book that was just there to be a placeholder? I don't know what. Anyway, I think it's old enough and well known enough that I don't have to worry about spoilers for this one. The main character is called Kathryn Lyons. She's at home in New England one night when a late knock at the door startles her. It is a union representative there to tell her that her husband, who's a pilot, Jack, his plane has been lost during a routine commercial flight. I found Kathryn Lyons deeply unrememberable and uninteresting, I guess. But the initial part of the book I actually quite enjoyed. It was a slow build-up. It had some pretty skillful descriptions of places, scenery, feelings, that sort of thing. So it wasn't an unpleasant read. It was all sort of good, but it was in a sort of mild way. It didn't really give you any highs or lows. It didn't really give you anything very much of a unique reading experience, but it was pleasant-ish. The early part was pretty much strongly a topography of grief story, and I seem to come across a lot of them and read them for a while, and I do get bored with them. So, while it wasn't bad, I wasn't overwhelmed. Then, about 2/3 into the book, it becomes clear that Jack was having an affair, leading a double life, etc., etc. Kathryn wonders if she ever really knew the man she was married to. A trope that I've never found much patience with, to be honest. I mean, does anyone ever really know anyone? Surely no intelligent human being doesn't realize that everyone is a bit of a mystery? I don't know. Apparently Kathryn isn't someone who's ever thought about this before. I found that section very yawn, and there was a lot of breast beating about who is he, who was he, did I know him, did he love me, was all our life together a lie? It's like, just get on with it, hey? Then Kathryn travels across the pond to England to confront his lover, who turns out to have married Jack long after Kathryn did. And hello, why is the word bigamy never mentioned? Bigamy is a thing. It's actually a crime in both Australia and England, and I imagine many other parts of the world. Okay, so now we had to deal with the agonizing, who was his real wife? Duh, he married you first. You are his legal, real wife. How difficult was that? A 7-year-old could have figured that one out, matey. Yeah, so she goes wandering off in the rain, Kathryn again, wandering off in the rain like a crazy person for no apparent reason, when we have to wander around with her while she wanders in the rain getting cold. An umbrella could have helped at least. I don't think she had an umbrella. So this last section actively bored me and actively annoyed me. There are many mainstream fiction books that manage to annoy and bore me at the same time. I suppose it's a bit of a miracle how often they do that, but it's a feat, I suppose. The topography of grief over a dead beloved husband, I can get that, and I can enjoy reading that. But if he was a lying, bigamous scoundrel, well, surely this is a rage situation. Possibly a disgusted situation? Maybe now is not the time for wanderings of grief and for doubting yourself. Why are you doubting yourself? He's the liar, the cheat. He's the bigamist. Doubting yourself? I mean, I guess people react to grief differently, so no criticism per se and such, but why are you emphasizing with this woman who admitted to knowingly marrying him when he was already married? She apparently knew about you. You didn't know about her. He was the lying bastard. As I had no concept of what the author thought she was doing with Kathryn at this stage, and Kathryn had no notion of what was happening to her either. Blah. So there is an interesting bit that I found while trying to get through all the annoying chafe of the being nonsensical text, boring whining inside your head about blaming yourself because your husband was an asshole. In between all that, I was spending more time wondering what the hell was going through the mind of the author than I was engaging with the story or its characters, and I think this happened with another Anita Shrive for me. This is a bad sign in a book. It's not what anyone wants the reading experience to be. Oh, I'm reading Wandering About London, and I'm mainly concerned with what the author thought she was doing. What was it, Anita? Okay, it was done, it was dusted. I don't understand why this book was such a rage and so many people loved it. Apparently there was a book club, that American woman that everyone raves about, who thought it was amazing, but I think all the books recommended by this book club, which shall remain nameless, found every single one of them consisted of substandard, mainstream and uninspired books, so no surprise it was there. Anita Shrive, I hope I remember that you and I are not friends. I hope I remember to treat with caution any books I read of yours.